Chapter 45. The Meeting. It was starting to get dark outside when the party arrived at the keep, so they feared that William might not come see them until tomorrow. But luckily for them, he arrived in less than an hour. 8 heavily armored guards accompanied him. Everyone was very concerned that someone had stolen their treasure chests, but said nothing as William entered. William: "Okay, I'm listening. What's going on here?" "And yes, they told me all that happened and all that you said." Jaren: "Castellan, sir, my name is..." William: "I know who you are, Jaren, and I already know what you're going to claim, so don't bother. I have no reason right now to believe anything you're saying. If this is some plot of theirs, then you're working with them to make it all appear real. So don't waste our time." Looking at the half-orc: "Let's start with you. Ken Gilgrath, correct?" Gilgrath: "That is correct. You have a good memory, it appears." William: "I'm usually good with remembering names, because it's kind of important, being who I am. So what's your story, Ken Gilgrath?" Ken told him his entire story, right up to the moment he decided to come with them to the keep, in hopes that they could convince everyone here that he could be trusted, as long as at least 2 humans came with him, so that he could come here from time to time to purchase any needed supplies. He pointed out how the 2 humans were here for his protection as well as others. He also said how he was now in charge of the Valley of Caves and was working with all the monsters there to help them to all get along with each other, and everything else that he was trying to accomplish in the valley. William: "Wow, that's one heck of a story, Ken Gilgrath. Thank you for telling it to me. Latia, when we first all spoke to each other, I had come to the conclusion that you all were mostly making stuff up, as your stories appeared to contradict each other. Remember?" Latia: "Vividly," she said, as if stating the obvious. William: "Great. So tell me what's actually going on here." Latia reiterated that everything Gilgrath told him was the truth, and invited him to speak with Nog and Kirk and judge for himself whether or not they could be trusted. So William accepted her challenge. Nog and Kirk had not spoken a word yet, which already had an impact on him. William extended his hand into the cell. "Hello, Nog." Nog, having watched Shinfia with Kirk and Jaren, extended his hand and took William's and gently shook it. "Hello, sir. It's an honor to meet you." William: "Really? Why do you say that?" Nog: "Because I am just a bugbear, which you consider nothing more than an evil monster. And in almost every case, you are right, for that is exactly what almost every bugbear is. So for the leader of this keep to extend his hand to me is quite incredible." William: "That was very impressive, Nog. How did you learn to speak our language so well?" Nog: "By talking to our prisoners mostly. For years I have studied your language, and when we came to the valley and took prisoners, I would speak with them every chance I could. I ended up befriending some, but they only acted like my friend in an attempt to get me to help them escape. Then one day, several months ago, I befriended a prisoner who was a kind, good, and generous man. He helped me. One time I came to him, having gotten into a fight with others, and he offered to heal my wounds. I soon learned that I could trust him. It was at that moment that I came to realize that we were wrong to hate humans and others who lived in houses and villages, rather than in caves like most monsters do. We attacked them when they traveled, for their supplies mostly, but also for sport, and to have prisoners to use as bait to get more supplies. Then we'd torture them and laughed as they'd scream for mercy, and eventually we'd just kill them. In time, I came to see that dominating those who are weaker than us, simply because they are weaker than us, is wrong. One day in the valley, I saw this kobold here. He was by himself. I could have easily killed him or taken him prisoner, but I chose instead to try to communicate with him. He was terrified when he saw me, but I reached out my hand and got on my knees and tried to not look intimidating. He turned to run, but when he saw me getting low and not attacking him, he stopped. Eventually, we started to communicate with each other. Soon we became friends and started teaching each other our language. One day our chief saw me sitting outside in the valley with Kirk. In his anger, he grabbed me and threw me into prison. I tried to explain to him what I now believed, but he thought I was mad. Nog then explained all that happened when the party entered their cave and all that happened since. William then looked at Kirk. "Can I hear your story, Kirk?" Kirk told him his story, and William just sat there and listened to him. When Kirk finished, William reached in and offered his hand. Kirk took it, and they shook hands together. William, looking at the guards now, "I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I believe they are all telling the truth. How about you all?" Guard, "Castellan, sir, we are all just as shocked as you. I rarely see this much respect from people. To see it from monsters, though, is truly incredible. We all believe they are telling you the truth." All the guards concurred, so William got up and unlocked the gate. "You are all free to go, as I believe you're all telling the truth, but convincing everyone here that you are is going to take a little work. So for now, you must all stay by me and my guards here. We will all protect you. As long as you're with us, no one will harm you. It's possible that some will accuse you of putting some kind of hex on me, though, which is why I brought 8 guards with me instead of just a few. I can easily grant you safe passage out of here, though, so you can get back to your caves in the valley." Lightmane, "They didn't all come here with us just so that you could grant them safe passage back to their caves in the valley. They came here with us to show everyone that they are good and not evil, and that they want to help, and that they can be trusted. They are here to try to prove to everyone, just as they have now proved to you and all your guards here, that though they are monsters who live in caves, they are not evil and are no threat to anyone, as long as they are not threatened. Now in my book, that makes them basically no different than any of us." William, "Okay then, it is late now, so most people are asleep. You are all invited to stay with me in my chambers as my special guests. That alone will shock everyone. Let's see if tomorrow you can convince them, as you've convinced me and my guards." They were all quite surprised at William's offer, but took it gladly. When the guards and the few people who were still awake in the castle saw William and his 8 guards walk with the party and the 3 monsters into the castle, talk spread quickly. A few came up to William to make sure everything was okay, but soon they were all in for the night. Nog and Kirk found the beautiful rooms quite incredible. They had never slept on a bed that was so comfortable before. Seeing the sunrise in the morning from inside, instead of having to go out into the valley to see it, was also quite a sight for them. But once William opened the inner bailey for anyone to come in, a large crowd quickly gathered in the courtyard. William, "Attention, everyone. First, let me say that you all have nothing to fear. I assure you that no one has put a hex on me, as my 8 guards here will affirm. I am of sound mind and body, and will speak only the truth. These 8 adventurers have been here many times. Some of you may remember them. When I last spoke to all of you by the main gate, how they had been to the Valley of Caves and had killed many chieftains, including Gragnock, the notorious Hobgoblin King, whose head they held up high for all to see. Well, not too high, since a dwarf was holding it." At William's words, Nightwind burst out laughing, which caused the crowd to start laughing as well. William, smiling now, continued, "Actually, Gragnock is not notorious, and I bet none of you have ever heard of him. But he thought highly of himself, right up until they cut off his head. These 8 adventurers have succeeded where every other adventuring party failed. The attacks on the road have ceased, and are now just as safe to travel on as any other road. All the monsters who were attacking the road have either been killed or have turned from their evil ways, and have vowed never to attack the road again. Over many days they have proven their loyalty, and yesterday they proved it in the most amazing way that I've ever heard." With those last words, William had now captured everyone's attention, so he continued. "In the valley, hidden in one of the caves, is a temple, and in that temple many clerics ruled over the monsters. It was those evil clerics who made the monsters attack travelers. Monsters, being monsters though, had no problem doing what they commanded, because that's what monsters do when they see travelers, just like lions attack zebras, or dogs attack cats. So when a monster chooses to no longer attack travelers on the road, you can know for certain that something has happened to them. But the monsters that now live in the valley didn't just stop attacking people on the roads, which, by the way, you know is true, since there have been no reports of attacks for many days now. But guess what else these monsters did? These monsters, and by monsters I mean kobolds, goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, gnolls, and bugbears, all not only stopped attacking travelers, but they helped this party of adventurers by joining forces with them, as they all attacked the clerics together. It was the clerics who made them attack travelers on the road. It was the clerics who caused our supply lines to start to dwindle, and had they succeeded, they would have eventually attacked all of us, and then left all the monsters to their own devices, which means the monsters probably would have started killing each other over time. This half-orc's name is Ken Gilgrath. Ken was killed by Gragnock, but this party brought him here in hopes that they would find the means to pay to have him raised back to life. Well, someone here paid, and thanks to whoever that person is, we are all safe now, for Ken Gilgrath is now the Lord of the Valley, and is working with all the monsters there. He has proven his loyalty time after time, and I'm proud to have him as my friend. At this, William extended his hand to Ken, who shook it. Everyone gasped in amazement. William then continued, "This bugbear's name is Nog, and this kobold's name is Kirk. They are both now captains of the valley and work directly under Ken here. All three of them speak our language just as well as we do, and after I've shaken their hand in front of all of you, they will tell you their story of how they came to be who and what they are now. But after we're done here, I am going to travel with them to the Valley of Caves and meet all the monsters who now dwell there in peace. And I will be bringing 8 people with me and 8 volunteers, so that there can be no doubt that these creatures are no longer a threat to any of us. Even more than that, from this day forward, all the creatures who dwell in the Valley of Caves are now under the protection of this keep and are welcome to travel here anytime they wish, as long as they are accompanied with at least 2 humans. That's how you'll know they're from the valley and not just some random monsters that walked up the road. Now let me introduce to you all Nog the Bugbear and Kirk the Kobold, captains of the valley." William then extended his hand to Nog, who shook it, and then to Kirk, who also shook it. The crowd was completely silent as Nog spoke and told the story that he told William, and then Kirk addressed them and told everyone his story. They both praised the adventurers and Ken Gilgrath and pledged their loyalty to them all, and also to all who lived here and traveled to this keep. So convincing and so moving were their words that after Kirk finished, everyone started cheering. All of the adventurers talked with many in the crowd, as did Ken, Nog, and Kirk, and for the next couple of hours, everyone in the keep started celebrating. Marcus and Margaret and their kids came and greeted everyone, as did all who worked at the inn and tavern, including the 15-year-old girl Sheila, who couldn't wait to hug Kirk. Kirk got quite nervous at being hugged, especially by a human girl, but smiled and gently hugged her back. Sheila then asked about Tico, so they invited her and her family to come with them to the valley to meet him, so they did. The party let everyone know that they would be leaving in the morning to travel back to their village, but they promised that they'd come visit one day, but couldn't promise how long that would be. But now William had assembled a group of people to travel with the party to the valley to meet all these monsters that they could now trust. First, though, they got their treasure chests out of the warehouse and put them in their apartment. Then they all set out for the valley. Gilgrath hadn't told them yet, but while they were all gone, he told the monsters to clear the path off the road. They didn't completely finish it yesterday, but close enough. Now it was mostly a clear and wide path, and everyone just walked right into the valley. They all walked all the way to the back, and Gilgrath then rang the bell, and slowly all the monsters came out of their caves and came over to the small crowd of people. At first there was quite a bit of nervous energy, but Nog and Kirk helped the monsters relax, and the party helped everyone else, and soon everyone was trying their best to communicate with everyone. It was quite an awkward and bizarre scene, but no monsters attacked anyone. Even Glugga came out at one point, but Jograth almost stayed glued to his side the entire time, fearful that the orc might lose it at any moment. But he didn't. He basically said hello to everyone, let them all know that he was the Orc King, introduced his wife as Misha, the Orc Queen, and then went back inside his cave, The party then brought out Tico and the puma, which shocked and frightened everyone at first, but the party quickly calmed everyone's nerves, and soon Tico and the puma were the stars of the show. Sheila was so happy to finally meet Tico, and when she asked him if she could hug him, he quickly reached to hug her. It was a moment that everyone would never forget. They all watched as Tico jumped on the puma and she raced around the valley. But when she jumped up into a tree and just disappeared, everyone just gasped. Latia and Shinfia then had Kish show everyone how she could dress wounds and apply healing salve. The amazement on everyone's faces just made the girls smile more. Kish's mate, though, at one point, started to look somewhat menacing and ominous in his appearance. Nightwind quickly spoke to him. "Hey, relax now, or you need to leave." The goblin leader just looked at the dwarf oddly. "Fine, I relax now." The girls told everyone how they met Kish and the goblins in the woods, and very quickly people wanted to hear more of their stories of the adventures they had gone on. So they started telling them about all the things that happened to them when they got here. Time seemed to fly by quickly, and soon it was time to head back to the keep. The people now knew that the valley was safe, though the party told everyone that they should never just walk in here unannounced, just as they wouldn't like it if a couple of monsters just walked into the keep. Everyone seemed to understand, and soon they all headed back to the keep, but the party assured Kish and the others that they'd stop by tomorrow before they headed out. That evening in the keep was quite a night. For those who had just entered the keep, the stories they heard left them confused and bewildered. As the party went back to their apartment for the final time, they almost didn't want to leave now. It seemed like everything around here was about to change. But they also worried that one of the monsters might attack other monsters, or even people at some point. No matter how great everything had become, these were still monsters, and if one of them snapped, there was no telling what might happen. But they couldn't worry about that now. Jograth was there with the two henchmen, and they knew that Nog and Kirk were completely trustworthy, so they just had to have faith that Jograth would continue to improve the relations with everyone over time. The next morning, they purchased some more potions at the temple, bought the wagon for Marcus, purchased 5 horses and 2 draft horses at the stables, along with saddlebags and lots of hides that they threw into the wagon. They visited Marcus and Margaret one last time, along with Malfoy and Marla, Kim and Sheila, along with Sheila's sister and 2 brothers, and a few others, and said goodbye. Jaren and William and many guards greeted them at the gate. Jaren hugged and kissed Latia and Shinfia, and William told them that he was going to start talking with as many people as he could and write a story about the 8 adventurers who traveled from the village of Duran to the keep and saved them from all the monsters who dwelt in the Valley of Caves. At first they questioned why he said it like that, but when William said that it was the clerics who were the real monsters in the valley, along with all the monsters that attacked them, then it made sense. They left the keep and headed back to the valley one last time. Saying goodbye to everyone in the valley was even harder than saying goodbye to all the friends they made at the keep, especially Kish. But when Latia promised Kish that they'd come visit her one day, she seemed to almost smile and looked happy, which made Latia and everyone else feel much better. After they had finally finished talking with and saying goodbye to everyone, it was finally time to leave. But before they headed out, there was one last thing that Latia needed to do. She walked over to Latia, the great white puma. and cast Speak with Animals so that she could talk to her again, one last time. Latia the Puma. Why, hello, Latia. What brings you to speak to me on this beautiful morning? Latia. Well, good morning to you too, Latia. There was no way I could leave without talking to you like this one more time. It's like you're my good friend now. I just wish there was a way that I could stay in touch with you, communicate with you in some way. I'm going to miss you a lot. Latia the Puma. Well, you never know what fate has in store, my dear. Perhaps a way to talk to me will become available at some point. It's quite interesting to me how what we actually want is sometimes put right in front of us. Most people just don't have the faith to see it. Latia. Are you trying to tell me something? Latia the Puma. Yes, I am. I'm trying to tell you that I love you, for you are my best friend's daughter, and I look forward to speaking to you and seeing you again someday, as I hope to with your mother again someday too. Latia. You've spoken to her before though, haven't you? Latia the Puma. Yes, many years ago, and I am greatly looking forward to the day that I speak to her again. Latia. Got it. I was just wondering if you meant that you were going to speak to her anytime soon. Latia the Puma. Well, if I knew that, I'd certainly tell you. Latia. Obviously. Not sure what I was thinking. Well, we all owe you our lives. If it wasn't for you, Latia the Puma, if you all didn't choose to come here, then you and I might never have met. So I owe you a great debt too. So thank you for choosing to go adventuring. Latia. You're welcome. Bye, Latia. Latia the Puma. Goodbye, Latia. The party rode out of the valley and headed down the north road. The next stop was Lightmane's home in the village of Fashion.